What's crack-a-lack, literary geeks? Happy Tuesday. Our last Sunday live chat was all about revisions, and a large part of that talk kind of got onto the subject of beta readers, alpha readers, how you revise your manuscript based on the feedback you get from what source, and how you change your writing based on how valuable you find that feedback to be. And as somebody who has edited many a story, many a poem, many an essay, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a video that encompasses everything involved in being a good critique partner. This can be for alpha readers, for beta readers, for writing essays, for copywriters, for Instagram posts. The options are endless. Because while giving snap judgment feedback is quite easy, oh, I liked it or I didn't like it, giving real valuable feedback to someone is a bit of an art. I'd say it's equally valuable to have the skill of being able to give a good critique as it is to be able to write something in the first place. Because you can write what you think is the best cover letter and then have someone else look it over and be like, you spelled your own name wrong. Not talking from experience or anything. And it's very helpful to have somebody with fresh eyes who's also excited about your project look it over just to see if maybe there's something that, your project-addled brain skipped over, or you forgot, or you thought that you wrote it down but you really didn't. Big scale or small scale, giving critique is not about tearing someone down. It's about giving them the blocks so that they can build themselves up. Damn. Put that on a t-shirt. Giving critique is not the same as being mean or harsh about someone's work, but sometimes a harsh critique may be needed to be able to make it better. Maybe the most important thing about being able to give a good critique starts from before you've even seen it. Before you even say yes to accepting a critique project, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions because that will color how you see and how you edit the work. First of all, do you like and respect the person that you're going to be critiquing? Do you like and respect the kind of work that they're writing? And do you truly want to read their draft? Because if the answer to any of these is like, I don't know, not really, well then you're setting everybody up for failure. If you don't like them, if you're not interested in what they're writing, if what they're writing is a genre that you have no experience in, then it's not gonna go well for either of you. You're gonna be forcing yourself to read it, you're not gonna be having fun, you're gonna be biased towards the work if you don't like it in going into it. That end deadline may drag on and on if you're forcing yourself through it, and that's just a waste of everybody's time. In scenarios like this, it's better to just gracefully decline. You can say something like, thank you for reaching out to me, but I'm not accepting projects at this time. Or you could say something like, this isn't my genre of expertise, but I wish you the best of luck, with your manuscript. It doesn't have to be mean, it doesn't have to be rude, it doesn't have to be like, I don't look at these are beneath me. Just like a quick, no thank you, wish you the best. Works wonders. Also, before you begin reading or critiquing at all, you have to go into that project knowing what your partner is looking for in your critique. Is this just purely a brainstorming session where they haven't written anything, or they've just written like a couple of lines and they're looking to flesh it out? Is this a fully done first draft and they're just wanting a quick pass over to see if it's like a good idea? Is it like a fully polished, beautifully bow-wrapped final copy that they just want to get you to do line edits on? And maybe what's a little tricky to suss out is figuring out what kind of a critique are they looking for. Because a lot of times when people say, I want feedback, it means they want praise. Which of course, if you like the work and you think it's good or has potential, like let them know that. But sometimes there are things that, are not super great. And when you try and say like, well, this maybe needs some work, that person gets really defensive, and that can really, cause tension in relationships. What I find to be the best type of critique is the compliment sandwich. I know this is very well known, where it's you do a compliment and then you say something that needs work or something you didn't like, and then you follow it up with a compliment. Because you give that person the good feeling of going into this letter where it being positive, or at least something good that's, it's not just saying your book's trash. If someone starts off that letter with, I really love these three characters, I think their storyline has major potential, and then says, your world building needs some work, and then finishes it with, your prose is really lovely and you have great metaphors. I feel like people are more receptive to that kind of feedback because it's not just pure negativity, but it's also not just fluffy compliments. Because that's another thing. People can usually tell when you're BSing them or just being a yes man. Parents and grandparents are notorious for this behavior. Keep an eye out. Because if you give your manuscript to someone close to you and say, what do you think? I want feedback, a lot of the times that person's going to be afraid to hurt your feelings by saying they didn't like it, so you kind of get those empty, oh, this was good, or I really like the main character. Just basic feedback that don't really help either person, because that person that's giving you the feedback is not being truthful, so you don't know or you can't tell what to fix. And that leads me into my next point very nicely, because when you finally do accept the critique and you're starting to write your notes, give the person feedback that they can actually use. Like, you can give large-scale feedback and you can give minute, detailed feedback, but don't be vague. When you're giving feedback, large or small, I find it's best when you give the person a couple of options or ideas of how to improve what you don't like. Because if you say your characters are boring, what does that mean? What am I supposed to add? How do I make them more exciting? And then that's when the writing process gets really muddy, because you're trying things and people don't like them. So you try new things and people don't like them because there's not an actual like goal that you can work towards. You're just kind of like trying to pull stuff out of the air, and it gets real complicated and messy. Large scale, this looks like your world building is patchy. It seems like there's a lot of info dumps in the first few chapters, and it would be better if you stretched out your world building. Whereas specific minute things would be like, these two character voices sound the same. You need to make one person have a more distinct speaking voice. This is also tricky because I know, we're all writers or we're all readers, and so when you're giving feedback, almost subconsciously, you're kind of going over it the way that you would write it and that you would lay this character out. But you can't do that because this isn't your story, it's theirs. Going back to that, like, do you respect the person that you're giving a critique to and their writing? It's not up to you to rewrite their book. It's up to you to critique what they've written and try and help them make that particular story better. Like, if you're mad the main character ended up with that part of the love triangle instead of that part of the love triangle, it's not really up to you to decide that, unless, I would say unless, caveat here, is that it like really doesn't work with the story, or if based on the character development that doesn't make sense with the storyline. And while you can give small recommendations on maybe like grammatical points, do not start rewriting it for them, or give long, drawn-out examples of how to write this one paragraph. I also find when you're doing the first sweep of a manuscript, you are very reactionary, because the first time you're seeing it, and you might want to immediately say like, oh, this doesn't feel right, or this is wrong. But sometimes it does help to take a step back from it for a day or two, and just kind of like let yourself think about it, and also keep in mind what the author is telling you their story is about, and what you're reading, and if that story is the same as what they're telling you it is. Like if someone says, here, critique my essay that's about Romeo and Juliet, and they spend half of, their page talking about Hamlet, and they never mention that they were going to do that, that doesn't fit. Or if they have in the blurb of their story that this person goes to a new school, but when you're reading it, the character knows everybody's name after a day, what's being told and what's being shown do not match. And you're gonna have to work with the author on that, because sometimes, you forget that you didn't write something in, or maybe it's changed, the idea's changed from when you first started and maybe you gave them an older draft. But always encourage themes or characters or parts of it that you really like, because if you're excited, they're gonna get excited too. And lastly is the thing that you need to say probably at the end of any critique, and that is to remind that person that your feedback is not the be-all end-all. I know we all want to go around thinking that we're like this amazing literary critic and our word is the word of writing god, but at the end of the day, no matter what your feedback is, it's still your opinion. The person asking for the critique can take it or leave it. Hopefully you would think that you gave good critiques that allow them to change their manuscript or essay or blog post for the better, but it's also up to them to decide whether they like your feedback or not and see how it interacts with their work, and they're fully free to not take any of your advice. I mean, you would hope that they would, because they respect your opinion, but sometimes you guys are just on two different wavelengths. You will learn to give better feedback the more that you do it, so get involved in writers groups. If you're still in university, take advantage of those discussion boards. Pull out some of your old writing and just have a new look at it and kind of separate yourself and pretend it's someone else's work and give it a critical look. I like giving compliment sandwiches to people because it just kind of helps soften any blows, because I feel like writers are also quite emotional people, regardless of how much we say that we're not. But all of our critiques boil down to wanting a really good finished product that everyone is excited about. So if you keep that in mind, you'll know that not everybody hates you, not everybody hates your book. We're just trying to make sure that the final product is like beautiful, We'll have another video here on Thursday, and join us on Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube for our live chat, and I hope to see you guys all there. Have a good week!